let's roll out. This is Modular Media's Saturday Morning Panels, a G.I. Joe and Transformers podcast. I am one of your hosts, the Vacuuminator, and I am joined, as always, by the courageous, hard-traveling hero, Snowcone83.
Yodi, please, that's me, Burke. What's up?
Hey, buddy. It's been a hot minute since we've talked on recording because this one's actually coming out a week later than we would usually drop an episode in the month, partially due to, as I said, you've been out there hitting the road. How you been?
I've been pretty good. It's been it was all fun. It was a beautiful day trip up to Columbus, and we stayed the night at Maddie's grandma's house, or apartment. It's a wonderful apartment. And we were just going up there to see Maddie's grandma for that weekend. The weekend prior, some of my closest friends got married, and they had a Spy Master inspired reception that was a blast. It was like an all day thing too. But yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of driving because that was Gainesville to Columbus, Georgia to Alabama, not Pensacola, but Palm Coast. I drove to Palatka on Monday, which is an hour there, an hour back.
Damn.
After I got back from Georgia, because I found out my grandma went to the hospital and nobody told me shit, so I just drove straight over there to talk to her myself.
Oof. Everything okay?
Oh yeah, she's fine.
Mm.
Don't have to get into that now, but yeah, she's totally cool.
All right. Well, that's good. And I mean, man, I would not blame you if you don't have a lot to talk about this month because I know gas prices here are pretty crazy right now. I can't imagine they're much better down there.
Oh, my car is so good on gas, dude. It doesn't matter. That doesn't. I put $40 in. I filled my tank up, $40, and did almost all that driving. I know I put another 35 in it, so that got me everywhere I listed both weekends.
Well, I am fucking jealous then because my car is an old fucking Mercury with a Lincoln engine in it, and so I have to put like $50 to $60 in it 3 or 4 times a month.
Oh yeah,
It's not great.
Maddie drives an old Buick, and it's got one of them old big boy engines in that thing, and it's heavy. My car can get I know on the way to Georgia, I saw it crawl up into like 48 or 49 to the gallon.
Mm.
I also keep it in like eco mode because it's got the ability to do so, and a bunch of other fancy little things that I do to really get the best gas mileage.
Yeah, I need to get a newer car at some point soon, but folks don't want to hear about my car troubles. They want to hear about G.I. Joe and Transformers if they're listening to this podcast, so we'll get into that in just a second, but before we do, quick reminder, please support us in the YouTube algorithm. Give us a comment down below with your thoughts on some of the stuff that's been happening in the last month of G.I. Joe and Transformers news. Subscribe and enable notifications so that you know whenever we release a new episode or there's a delay. Like I did post a YouTube community tab update about this episode getting delayed, so you would have known about that if you were subscribed to us. And also follow us on all the social media. We've got a Twitter that's at the Modular Media. We've got a Bluesky that's modularmedia.bsky.social, and we've got a Tumblr which is Modular Media. And if you want to hear clips from this show and all the other podcasts we do here on Modular Media, such as This Week in Toku, where we cover tokusatsu, No Prize Podcast, where we cover Marvel and general comics news, and Modular Components, where we hang out and shoot the shit. That's all over on TikTok at Modular Media. But that's all the plugging and tugging I have to do for this month. So let's go ahead and get into the news. And the news is the other reason this month's episode got delayed, because when we would normally release an episode during the month was the day before Hasbro Pulse Con. So it just kind of made more sense, what with Snowcone traveling and Pulse Con coming up, to just delay a week so that we could frickin' talk about Pulse Con in a timely manner. And they did something that I thought was a really smart move this year to keep people engaged and wanting to stay on Hasbro's socials and the stream all day, which is that they bookended it with their two core brands. Transformers opened and G.I. Joe closed, and both of which I thought had a pretty solid panel. I think G.I. Joe was just a little bit better than Transformers, but there was still really cool stuff in both of them. And yeah, that's pretty much like the quick summation of it. But obviously, there's a lot of nitty gritty details to get into, and to start kind of delving us into that, Cody, what were some of your highlights from this year's PulseCon?
So, just base level opening with pretty much nothing. Whenever they talked about Big Boa, they mentioned that he does. This is a GI Joe, by the way, later part of the PulseCon.
Yeah.
But when they announced Big Boa, they said what we weren't seeing in the overall like layout was his. I think he said his 100-pounder or something like that. A bigger dumbbell to pick up. He's got the two individual ones, the curling irons, and a larger one that he will come with.
You know, I'm
Um,
glad you mentioned that because I don't remember hearing or picking up on that because we also did a Snowcone wasn't on it, but we did a live reaction stream for PulseCon, and there were a lot of little things that I didn't pick up on because we were busy discussing big things that jumped out on us, and that's apparently one of them because Big Boa was the first render reveal we got of the show for GI Joe, and you know, I thought he looked really good. Maybe a little barren, but like it's Big Boa. All you really need is a pair of boxing gloves and maybe some weights.
yep. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is because it's good to know that yes, we don't always see everything that it's supposed to come with.
Mhm.
Which has made me hopeful for Techno Viper. Please come with a little traffic cone. I need that in my life more than people think. I want that so bad. I want them to come with a little cone. Because the 30th or the 35th or whatever anniversary came with one.
The
Um,
4-inch figure.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, I would definitely not be opposed to Techno Viper coming with a traffic cone, though I guess since we're going to go ahead and jump ahead to his render reveal, because we're getting the black Techno Viper with the SMS, I think it is. And we're getting the classic purple colors one as a single pack. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to be going for that one just because, like, it's not really a design that super appeals to me. The thing about this PulseCon with GI Joe I've noticed is we're starting to get into the zone where we're pulling from a lot of the later weirdos while still keeping some of the classic stuff in. And some of the later weirdos, I'm like, yo, that looks really cool. The team did an amazing job on that. I don't know if I personally need it. Like Metalhead, I think it looks like a badass action figure. I don't know if I personally need it.
Oh, I think you'll change your mind whenever you see a in-person shot of it and all the effects are going off.
I'm
Um,
definitely open to that possibility because I really like that they gave him all those effects parts. You know, Classified Series has really put it into perspective for me of like effects parts are just the modern version of spring-loaded missiles. It's what we do because we don't want to pay the extra money for spring-loaded missiles, but we still want that effect. And also, it just looks better for figure photography.
yeah, and it feels like they're really getting into tune with that. But yeah, no, I mean for me, I think that guy just looks crazy wild. Fits more in with like the dreadnoughts, which they nailed, by the way. If but to truly answer the question, I think my favorite reveal of this of the whole PulseCon was probably the Rock Lords guys. I forget what they're
Yeah.
actually calling those again.
We've had leaked listings for Transformers as far back as I want to say July of all these characters for the third year of Legacy, which we now know is called Legacy United. That were just called Rock 1, Rock 2, so on and so it goes. And here and we've long been speculating like, oh, they're doing modern Rock Lords toys. We're getting reimaginings of the Rock Lords. And yes, but also a little no, because it's an entirely new race of Transformers that they're calling the Armorizers, which are essentially statue looking robots that turn into vehicles made out of rocks. We saw the first two of them during this stream. There's a core class named Boulder Dash and a deluxe class, which I think was called Magnius.
Yep, Magnus. I'm staring
Um,
at pictures of him right now.
Yeah, and they look pretty solid. They look about as well done as you could execute that concept. Though the
Some could
live
say rock
reaction
solid, yeah.
stream boys and I's were laughing our asses off at Magnius when we first saw him, because he's the first Transformer I can remember to have like the wheels actually be his tits.
Yeah. And did you hear the I forget what the designer's name was, but did you hear what he was talking about for that design specifically? Um
Um, I mean, we were talking a lot over that section, so I probably
so
don't know what you're talking about.
so he said that the reason why he did that, because if you look at it from straight on, you can't actually see into his like chest. And he said that it was on purpose. It was a on purpose thing because I guess the canon behind these guys is they're more like soulless machines. You know, they're like soulless drones that are just
Mm.
meant to armor up and cover these other characters up
Which
and
is
be
probably
used
why
by
they
it.
don't have faction symbols. It's probably like, oh, you can buy as many as you want to work for whoever you want.
Yeah. And like that's kind of what they're going for. And I was watching the Slag podcast mention something, and I can't remember if he said that this was canon or not. I saw the guy talk about this in one of the videos that they were showing, because he said like, yeah, that's what I was imagining. But the dude in the Slag podcast also mentioned, man, I'm losing that. Oh, the maybe the pirates are hunting down the precious gemstone situation thing,
Mm.
like referring to these kind of things, trying to collect these, which would be cool. I really like that. I
Yeah.
think the designs here are unique. I think it's nice to see such a weird looking body and weird looking vehicle mode, and I think it makes complete sense.
Yeah, there's some
Um,
real diversity going on in this first wave in terms of stuff they're pulling and stuff they're trying. Like, we're getting two tentpole characters, but it's versions of them we haven't seen in a long time in animated Optimus and Bumblebee. And I know there's been some discourse about B. I think both B and Optimus look really good, really spot on to their animation designs. Maybe not like 100%, but closer than I would have expected given how the Prime figures went. And then speaking of Prime, we're getting a toy only character from Prime in Legacy in the first wave of United. Thundertron. I really like how he looks, and I didn't get time to watch like all the coverage of these toys that has come out in like the 24 hours it's been since PulseCon now. But I remember seeing on social media somewhere this morning somebody reporting that on his live stream coverage of just like, oh, here's what I think of what they showed. Aaron Archer said that the Thundertron the new Legacy Thundertron looks like what they imagined Thundertron would have looked like in animation when they were making that original toy, because that original toy does look a fair bit different from this one.
yeah, and what I found was interesting, which seemed to be the case for, and like, so I guess me watching PulseCon was a very interrupted because I was working the whole time, and it just like the whole first part of my morning was a nightmare the day this happened, so I really didn't get to pay attention to much. But so a lot of people I was seeing even reporting and releasing videos today talking about how they wish this character did this and did this. But you can see that he does still have the peg leg. It's like a little gun thing with a little bit on the end of it too this time around, so it has a bit more functionality. Um, and then like they also said it was kind of like Zoids inspired a little bit, which was neat to hear. Um, but I just found that it was interesting that a couple of these releases, like especially for the Rock Lords and stuff like that, like they had things and features that we didn't even know about or thought that they could do, just because of how the stream went.
Yeah, like it's It's been highly speculated since the stream that the armorizers are going to have some kind of hidden combining mode, because people have been pointing out these little errant bits on the first two. Like I think Boulder Crash has like what looks like a handle running out of her back, and you could imagine that she could be turned into like some kind of weapon for a bigger robot.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see about that.
Yeah, no, and that thing flips forward too. That's exactly what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's even how it works for the weapon and vehicle mode, and then you could see the handle just sticking straight down. That's
Yeah.
without a doubt there. That's going to be great. Again, like I didn't. I mean, you know how I am. I think I've even talked about it on this specific podcast. Like I really love these weaponizers and whateverizers and fossilizers. Um, I wasn't so sure. I was very excited for these. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't so sure how they were going to work, or how they would look and everything like that. But I think the bits here that we get, like just seeing like this gray one, like something about this gray and like the overall shadows and rocks and stuff like that, like it just looks
Mhm.
so crazy to me.
It's
And it's
also
got
just cool
like,
because it's like a few years ago you wouldn't have seen those colors on a mainline transformer because they were trying to get away from that and like put bright colors on everything again for a minute there.
yeah. um and it's also just interesting, just we're getting more interesting vehicles. I keep saying that this looks like a tornado chaser,
Hmm.
just a little bit, but it does have a very wide stance for the wheels in the front. It's a very interesting vehicle just overall, but I could see its chest being or the front of the vehicle being just like a chest for something larger. um I noticed, if you look at like that picture where he's standing there and he's got his like double-headed pickaxe
Hmm.
above his head, there's a ball joint in his wrist.
Yeah.
um and it looks to be like completely functional for articulation as well.
Hasn't
um
first time it's not just been a straight mushroom peg in a while.
yeah, but it seems like it could be for transformation, but like you can 100% get use out of that.
Oh
And they
yeah.
do have paint on him. Like he looks like a concrete, like and again, like I have no problem with this.
Yeah, it's like
um
without going too heavily into stuff that doesn't pertain to this podcast, so I saw some people being like, "Oh, well, that Marvel Legends Sandman looks really cheap," and I'm like, "Dude, do you see all the shading they put on that thing?" It's a similar thing here with Magnius, where it's like initially it doesn't look painted, but there's a lot of like lighter shading and overtones to parts of him.
Yeah, and it's also funny to see him completely pulled apart, because I was telling somebody on Twitter, I'm like, yeah, it just looks like a pile of pebbles. Like
Yeah.
and like I really didn't think of it to be that effective, but if we're still gonna have these characters with these little ports all over them, that's way easier to visually represent armor than actually using like the Junkions for parts of that, because it doesn't matter what the shape of it is; it's just gonna look like a fucking rock.
There's
It's
a
like, oh,
part
yep,
of me
rock on
that
chest.
There's a part of me that was initially a little like, I kind of wish they did just straight up turn into rocks. But like, this is definitely a much more creative and versatile approach.
Yeah, and just like his the legs down there, they have like this interesting bend to them, and the feet look like they could clamp because you use the feet for the hammer mode.
Hmm.
And the feet fold up and turn into part of the canopy thing for the truck bed.
Yeah. And speaking of clamps, can we talk about frickin' Chase for a second?
Oh my gosh.
Like, we made plenty of ACAB jokes on the stream, but we were also like, this is just the best looking all around standalone figure they revealed for like Legacy United Wave 1. Because he's got really nice, really bright, appealing colors, I mean. His vehicle mode looks really solid. He has an incredibly show accurate head, and the rest of the robot mode isn't too far off either, and his articulation looks really solid, and I love the like little spotlights he has on the side of the car mode that double as like wrist
Blasters.
blasters in the alt mode. It is like out of all the figures they revealed for this, even though there's plenty of other ones that I'm like, yo, that looks great. This is the one that I'm like, I gotta make sure I get this guy. And I've only seen 3 episodes of Rescue Bots.
Well, I mean, if you go and look on the FC203 Instagram, they have they have all the pictures of all of these things that have been done so far, which I guess they released them in weird little areas, so that's why it's taken a minute to get them all together. But no, I completely agree. This figure looks amazing. The legs alone just blow me away with the way that the lights end up looking like they still capture the coolness of like a pop-up up and down headlight style. But that's not how it works. It's just like a regular Mustang or a Dodge Challenger grill. The overall shape of this figure is insane. The yellow on the windshield looks beautiful. It reminds me of Dirt Boss. And just to see that little clamp thing, which again, I mean, BMAX said for this figure specifically that the future uses and retools are gonna blow our mind. That's what he said out loud. That's one other thing I'll
It
say
looks
about
like
this
such a
overall.
versatile mold too, right? Like it looks very specifically like Chase, but it also looks like nobody in particular. I could see this being the next War for Cybertron Sideswipe mold.
Well, here's what I think. I mean, everyone's been saying they're definitely going to turn this into Lockdown, which I think is possible, and I think they could make this Lockdown and still make him tall because I think the legs have the potential to be reworked like that.
Oh yeah, well he's
Also,
already got legs for days.
yeah, but also this could totally be Dirt Boss because again, both Lockdown and Dirt Boss had weird little claw gimmicks, just the same as Chase does. Because Dirt Boss had a when you put the planet key in, his chest popped up into the little claw thing. But he just looks so fucking fun. They all look so great. Every
Yeah.
single one of these announcements.
Like even Windblade, who arguably is just the same thing we've always gotten with Windblade. She looks like she has a very standard Windblade transformation of the legs become the back of the plane, the front of the plane folds back into a backpack, and the wings just shift up a bit as the rest of the body unfurls out of nowhere.
I hear
Windblade is
you.
Windblade is really exciting. Let me finish because the actual robot mode looks incredibly accurate to Cyberverse, which is they're crediting this as Cyberverse Windblade, which makes me so happy because it was always a huge sticking complaining point for me of Windblade is one of the free advertised main characters up front for Cyberverse. She never got a deluxe, and now here it is finally.
I was just gonna say, I don't think I've seen a better like jet mode that looks like a regular jet.
Yeah.
Because it's not as blocky. Like it still has a bit of blockiness, but like that can be explained away a lot easier because of how how little space there is here.
Well, and the turbines.
Yeah, the turbines are nice. I'm talking about like the overall like fuselage, the shape of it. It looks a lot more jet like. Like there's other like chunkier jets that have a similar vibe to this. Like yeah, it's a common design, but I think it's just a lot more sleek because even from a lower angle, it doesn't seem improper. And I think probably because they gave her properly proportioned wings, so it's
Yeah.
got a bit of a better feel. I like that the wings move. I think it's just like a like here's this character. It's gonna articulate great. Well, they talked about hyper articulation a lot, as a matter of fact, but yeah, I don't know. The
Well,
sword looks great.
even features wise, as a toy, she's got her old removable fan gimmick from her original generation's toy, and she's got landing gear, which it sounds almost weird to somebody who's been in the game so long to say like, "Oh wow, it's got landing gear," but they haven't been doing landing gear on Generations jets for a couple of years now, so it's nice to see that back.
Yeah, and it's also kind of crazy to say that like this might be the figure that seems, at least for me, like the least exciting announcement out of all the Transformers because I mean just looking at like an overall like thumbnail of like all of them together, there's just crazy shit going on here.
Yeah.
People have been celebrating the fact that there's no G1.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the one I'm most excited for yet, which is frickin' Core Class Energon Megatron. I Energon Megatron is one of those toys I wanted crazy bad for a while as a kid and never got. And now you tell me I'm going to be able to get a like slightly better version of him for 10 freaking dollars. Let's go.
Oh yeah, and I think they're definitely going to reuse that a couple times. I think we'll get a shattered glass out of it or something.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
the Galvatron color scheme for that toy is beautiful, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Actually, I think there's a leaked listing for that.
how about Tasmanian Kid though? Like, what a surprising like what seems to be like a out of the park figure. Like, it's got
Yeah,
everything it needs. It's got articulation. It looks right.
it's one of those characters like I don't know a whole lot about. I've maybe looked at pictures of the original toy once, but it is a really cool pull, and it's nice to see characters from Japanese continuities that isn't just the leaders.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
I'm very excited about these rock characters.
I mean, we did kind of gloss over them. How you feeling about the animated boys, B and Prime?
Bumblebee look so at first I was like hypercritical when I saw like some like early shitty photos. When I saw the first like photos of his like shoulders, I was like, that's not correct. I'm not gonna really pay attention to that. But I saw the vehicle mode and it looked like the vehicle wheels were off, similar to the Shadow Striker we just got, because something like sometimes you'll have like a wider rear wheelbase on like vehicles and a narrow front end wheelbase, but like almost never do you have it in reverse, aside from like maybe some like utility vehicles and stuff like that. So I thought because of like it looked like it was offset like that, I was like, oh man, that's a bummer. If anything, it should have a wider rear end. But no, I think now that we've seen all these pictures of like the proper thing, like
Yeah.
while yes, the legs might not be technically correct to the original animation model, as a Bumblebee and as just a general toy or robot, the proportions on this guy just look amazing. He's got like a wrist, he's got all the articulation he needs. He looks like he'd just be fun to play with. Now,
Hmm.
when you get to Prime, like something about that robot mode is, I think, one of the best Primes I've ever seen.
It
It's such
looks
a commanding thing. Like,
like I wish the colors on him were a touch brighter, but other than that, he looks spot on to that original Voyager, just cleaned up a little bit. Like you can see that as a negative. I know some people are upset they got rid of the battle mask from the original toy. That battle mask looked ugly as sin if you didn't have it actually up and on his face. So I'm kind of glad they got rid of it.
I mean, the face we get there is just so stoic. But
Yeah.
again, like the arms, the fucking gorilla arms on this guy is just
And
so
he's got his
brutal.
big stompy boots.
Oh, and that's the thing too. Look how square. It's so much more classic robot than it is anything else because
Mhm.
like it doesn't have a regular like footprint. It's got such a literal square, like big stomp, 1,000 pound like crusher like foot down there.
And I
I don't
love
know,
how
man. It's a
curvy the alt mode is too.
yeah. Yeah, I mean like seeing this thing in like picture poses and that's the thing, seeing this next to Chase, what a beautiful like two things that you can guarantee are going to sell out. Like
Yeah.
those are two bright shiny red and blue like emergency vehicle things like bro, that's sick. They look really good together. They so much of this like wave is just so weird because it's like almost like it might be the wildest we've seen yet. It definitely has to be with no G1 in there. But just everything still makes sense and works. I'm completely accepting of everything that we've been presented.
All right. Well, real quick before we hop back to GI Joe, because there's a couple more GI Joe things I want to talk about. Do you have anything to say about the leaders?
Um, the Silverbolt and the Laser Prime reissue.
Yeah, Tiger Hawk is what that toy is.
Oh, either
Because
way, yeah. I mean, that thing looks great. Um, it looks so strikingly like old Beast Wars figures with like a little bit better articulation. But like also, it's nice to see that that's how transmelds are going to be done. I think the pearlescence on some of the more copper brownish tones are very nice, and we do still have that like feel of like the translucent green on some of the parts. Um, I think it's going to be great to see that in the other colors as well that I know we'll get.
yeah, Like I've said before on this podcast, I'm not a huge Beast Wars guy, so I wasn't even 100% sure what this was when they first showed it. Wyatt kind of had to explain some show stuff to me on the stream. Um, but I mean, it looks solid. I went and looked at some comparison shots. It seems like, unlike I was saying on the stream, they've gone much more for the animation look rather than the original toy look, and that's
Yep.
that's definitely a good choice because it gives us something we haven't had in physical before. Probably not gonna buy it though, because it's not for me, and that's fine. That's totally fine. What's not totally fine though is I think the Laser Prime reissue is a bad call. Because like I know it's become tradition at this point to carry one leader over from the previous year into the next. Laser Prime isn't the one I would have gone with because there's already a Prime in this first wave. This Laser Prime was fairly plentiful when it first came out, and like I don't know a lot of people who are hungry for it.
Um, yeah, I mean it's a weird thing. Um, again, like I'm like, whatever, they do that. I do think it's just an overall weird call. But I guess one of the other options would have been Ultra Magnus. Um,
Yeah.
and then who else?
Uh I'm trying to remember who was the carryover from Legacy Year 1 into Evolution. Was it Galvatron? Or no, he was Kingdom into Legacy.
Yeah.
Because part of me wants to say Blitzwing, but I'm worried Blitzwing might have been last year's carryover. And I know there's a lot of people who didn't like Blitzwing, but I think Blitzwing's a fantastic toy.
Blitzwing wasn't a carryover, I don't think.
Okay, then there you go. Should have done Blitzwing in my opinion. But either way, I'm not going to buy it. It's just I'm more worried that this Laser Prime will shell form than I am Tiger Hawk. Uh,
Oh yeah, I think Tiger Hawk just looks cool enough to sell something. So
Yeah, this is definitely a solid holiday item, if nothing less. But that's all the Transformers reveals. I guess we could also talk a little bit about like some of the non-toy reveal stuff. Like they did the Hall of Fame inductions for the year. Legacy Evolution Armada Commander Prime got Toy of the Year. Probably very well deserved. I still don't have one, so Skybite is the fan favorite RID 2001 character. Very predictable. And they also inducted the, and forgive me for not remembering their name, but the Japanese designer who was behind ball joints getting heavy implementation in Beast Wars and has also worked on every toy line since.
yeah, essentially one of the most important uh, overall fun developers for the Transformers brand for this planet.
Yeah.
Uh, so he makes the things feel fun and pose fun. So we're because of him, we're living in this age of ankle joints and wrists on everybody and ab crunches every now and then, and they keep pushing the envelope. It's great to see.
Yeah. So good for them. Also good on Few Atoms of Toy Grind, doing hosting duties for the whole of Pulse Con, but he also came on for that little bit of the Transformers panel. And when they were talking about Skybite, he made sure to stop the panel in its tracks and say, like, hey, Peter Spellos is battling cancer right now. Our heart goes out to him. And like you get the feeling they might not have done that without him there because there might have been like legal questions about it because Hasbro tends to be kind of weird that way sometimes. So like I appreciate that, and like I just generally appreciated Few and Dan Larson of Secret Galaxy hosting all throughout because they kept things feeling a little more loose and snappy otherwise. Like during the 2 hour D&D Magic the Gathering section, which we were really grasping for straws at stuff to say during the live stream, whenever they would come on and just say like I kind of know what that is, I like those dice, they'd say it in a way that made us laugh. So really appreciate their presence on this year's show. But getting back into GI Joe, I want to talk about some of the name reveals real quick. First and foremost, Night Creepers. Finally, the last
Okay,
figure I need to complete my childhood GI Joe collection in classified is confirmed to be coming down the pipeline. I
hold on
am
now.
so
Hang on
excited
now.
about that.
I didn't even see that there were name reveals.
Okay, so the name reveals were Night Creepers, the Cobra Ferret, Dreadnought Naugahyde, Retrocarded Beachhead, Retrocarded Eel, and Retrocarded Snow Serpent.
So Dreadnought, Nog.
Do you know who Naugahyde is?
No.
Naugahyde is a later years Dreadnought who came with a wild boar pet.
Oh man.
Yeah. And you know they're gonna do that friggin' boar, and they're gonna make it fully articulated.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up all these.
And the Cobra Ferret is essentially just a four-wheeler with some missiles on it, but hey, that's another vehicle for the line.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man, I've been waiting for the fucking ferret for so long. That's great. I was like, man, I don't know. Like, I thought because that we hadn't got it yet, they just weren't gonna do one.
Mm.
That's a easier sell than even the All Striker. You don't even have to put a named character with it. Put a Cobra Trooper with it.
Yeah.
Buy like 50 of them, dude. It's not even gonna have to be the $50 price tag unless they want to do something interesting.
They could probably do that at like 30, 35, like they did the bikes.
Yeah. Nah, that's a great thing. I would have been way more excited if I would have known that. I had no idea they did any of these name reveals because I had to watch most of this stream on mute.
That's fair. Also, I think they said the retrocarded beachhead was going to be a new sculpt. Now, I don't know if they mean a 100% new sculpt for that figure or just like it's different from the Cobra Island one. I'm wanting to say it's going to be like a repaint of that recent, oh god, what's his name? Firefly with different accessories.
Which would be an easy buy anyways.
Yeah.
Honestly, that old beachhead kind of sucks.
Really? Because that's like one of my favorite Cobra Island figures. I
don't like seeing the green guns. And
I'll agree with you the guns suck, but I think the actual figure is really solid. I love that body.
yeah.
But that's the great thing about this line. Everybody comes with so many damn accessories. You can just, if you don't like somebody's guns, you can just give somebody else's guns, which is what I did with Beachhead. I gave him some of the Commando Snake Eyes guns. Yeah, that's I mean, the eels and the snow serpent, I'm willing to bet the snow serpent will be just like stripped down a little bit. Like you probably won't get that wolf pelt. Maybe a different backpack or something like that. And the eel, maybe it'll be a different color scheme, but there's a part of me that thinks like, oh, it's going to be a reissue of the one we just got, the like Amazon exclusive one that will be to make up for all the QC issues that one had, just on a retro card.
Yeah, I'm just looking up Night Creepers and everything like that. That's pretty exciting.
And they also made it clear that the retro cards, they are not going to be exclusive to any store. They're going to be mainline releases, and they're going to be on a thicker card back like how Marvel Legends does their retro cards. So you don't have to worry about shit getting bent up in shipping.
Oh yeah, even the announcement says Naga hide with friends. So friends plural though. That's interesting.
Ooh, maybe a couple little baby borlets.
I think they definitely make a lot of these G.I. Joe characters look like either the design team or popular YouTubers because one of the Dreadnoughts looks exactly like BMAC.
Yeah. I fought one of the Dreadnoughts we saw in hand. I'm not really good with Dreadnought names, but I fought what's his name? The one with the darker hair and like the beard. He reminded me of a wrestler named Matt Cardona.
Yeah, that's who I thought looked like BMAC. You can remember their names by the weapon they come with. His name is Ripper because he's got the Ripper thingies, and then Buzzer comes with the saw.
Likeness. I can see that a little bit. I think they also said like his head sculpt is supposed to look like he's got a false eye, which is a really cool detail.
Cool.
Trying to think, what do I want to get into next? I'll just kind of go down the renders, and we can talk about the ones we haven't talked about yet. Airborne looks neat, though, like, I know nothing about him as a character, and he doesn't look, like, exciting enough as a figure on his own that I think I'm going to pick him up. How about you?
I still will, because even, again, like, I like that we're going this more generic military style, but, like, that's still his classic look. The more generic stuff is later down the line, which we'll get to. But, yeah, no, I'm definitely going to get it. This is the Night Force Airborne figure that we already saw leaked. That was for Walmart, I think.
Oh, okay. They're just doing him in regular colors.
Yeah, because he's got the double goggles, so he's got like the flip up flip down goggles and another mask there. It looks like for the thing. So you could actually have it. That might be a hat. I don't know. But you can just have his goggles on, and I'm sure the helmet probably goes on over that. I think it'll be a more interesting figure. I think these ones with like the regular tan and stuff like that are going to look better when we see him in person. But I also like that he comes with a more well airborne style kit because he's got a smaller weapon, a lot less weight and stuff like that.
Fair enough. And then we got Quick Kick, who just looks fantastic. Like
Absolutely.
you've got the throwing star effect, you've got the frickin' frozen fudgy bar, an alternate action head, two sets of alternate hands, which is another thing. It seems like they're standardizing alternate hands going forward, which is something I know a lot of people have been asking for with this line. So with
Yep.
this guy, you get trigger finger slash holding things hands, you get fists, and you get karate chops, two swords, two nunchucks. Just looks like everything I could have asked for with him. Definitely going to be grabbing this guy.
To circle back to Techno Viper, again, for me, those colors, this is one of my favorite things of all time anyway. Like, I love that figure. I'm so excited about that. Metalhead's looking fantastic, I still think. We haven't seen a picture of all the stuff on him, though, which I think is probably going to be like the final straw for everybody, because right now we just see a bunch of like vertical effect parts and then like his little back harness, but the
Yeah.
thing's like a
I think Lenny even said there's a couple more things he comes with that they couldn't fit on the render.
oh my gosh. I mean, he's already got like he's like War Machine times two.
Yeah. Also, like, even though I'm not super excited about him on his own, there is just the simple fact of like him coming into the line opens up the door for all the other Iron Grenadiers fans.
Yep, absolutely. Which I've been waiting for the main grunt of those forever. The 30th anniversary toy of that came with a gun that was longer or taller than the figure was if you stood it up next to him, and it was
Awesome.
like a heavy duty like grenade launcher thing.
Uh, Mutton Junkyard, not too much we didn't know about them already, but still nice to get another look at them via the render. Love the extra little details like Mutt is coming with a ski mask and two different kinds of goggles. He's coming with a can of mace. Just some cool little touches with these guys.
And seeing these figures, it goes back to another like very positive side effect of like the old 3 3/4 inch GI Joes. They're now coming with all of these extra gear accessories that just make it so easy to just put on other characters, or take a like, say for example, the grunt that they put out, you could use some of this stuff to make those characters look even more unique from each other. Or, if you bought two scrap iron drones, you could easily exclude the helmet and include something from this guy. Just it's only positive stuff. It's only going in the right direction. And I
Yeah.
think this is just us seeing our investment into the toy line, and just everyone's general interest like be returned back to us.
I mean, it really is peak toy design when every individual figure feels like a great experience on its own, but the more you buy, the more you can do with the line as a whole.
Yep.
Uh,
Um,
and then
what
they
do you?
showed Retro Scarlet, who looks just sensational. I gotta say, like, we already knew a lot about her because of Glenda coming with the HasLab, but in the actual Scarlet colors with the proper different head and accessories, uh, I've always been a staunch defender of that Wave One Scarlet. I know a lot of old school hardcore fans didn't care for it. It was my figure of the year 2020. This knocks it out of the park. I'm gonna have to pick this one up.
Yeah, no, I agree. This figure looks great. The crossbow, just the fact that we got something so cool like that looks nice. I saw
Mhm.
somebody comment, um, which is another point that I've been waiting to get into here, with this and then like the other two figures we gotta announce after this, I guess, or talk about after this.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, why would I need Super 7 when I have my Super 7 figures right here? Because they really did. They really, like, those are the animation models. They have the cool little guns that came with Grunt. Um, and again, like, to my eyes, because of, like, also being into, like, guns and other stuff, like, I've seen most of these accessories for these guys on the other figures we've gotten in the past. But the beauty of, like, military gear and stuff like that is sometimes not even a splash of paint, just, like, including it in the right other kit on another character makes it feel like it belongs there. So you're like, wow, this is all so intentional.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's true. Duke's already came with that gun before. Um, oh no, I'm actually completely incorrect. That's
No.
not the grease gun that came with Tiger Force Duke. That's his MP5 that he came with when he was originally released. So never
Yeah.
mind.
But since you're bringing up Duke, let's go ahead and just real quick say, hey, friggin' Recondo in his regular colors coming out on a retro card. Great for everybody who really wanted that. I don't care for Rekondo's regular colors. I have the Tiger Force one, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I actually like the Tiger Force one more.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the characters who I would, because like I know that gun's not the greatest. I do appreciate it, but again, like I like it with the Recondo I have. Just the overall style of it, this would be harder, a harder character to try to make look like an individual. You know,
Yeah.
just
He
because
very
of how
much
everything
is
he's got.
just Jungle Adventure Man.
Yeah, and I think he's right behind me, isn't he? He's like, yes. Yeah, I like the darker colors. Um, I mean, maybe if I saw it on sale and I wanted to have like a bougie like desert display, which I'm sure I'll get to that point, uh, then maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and get right past him and get into Retro Duke, who, much like Scarlet, I don't dislike Wave 1 Duke. I think he's a pretty solid figure, but this is just much more like it. This is just much more what you want if you're familiar with classic G.I. Joe. He's got um, just a much closer look to that original figure and the cartoon model. He's got a different helmet that looks much more classic. He's got the Sunbow rifle, and his backpack has revised paint on it, and it's actually got a little bit of printed deco on it to have. It's hard to make out on the screen caps we have here, which we're looking at the His Tank and TFW 2005 articles for anybody who wants to know. Um, but the wording printed on his shovel, they said during the stream, is the frickin' GI Joe. Wherever there's trouble over land, sea, and air, GI Joe is there.
Nice.
It looks like such a solid ass figure. Definitely gotta have it, Jack.
Yeah, easy, easy. And then I guess that brings us to what I think of the last two.
Of the renders, yes, the 60th anniversary figures, who were leak listed a while ago as Tom and Jerry, and folks had theorized about them for a while. But what they've decided to do is they are taking the original, like way back 12-inch GI Joe concept of Action Soldier, Action Sailor, and they are saying, what if we did that now in classified? You are getting a new Action Soldier and Action Sailor for the 60th anniversary that are essentially very true to life 1/12 scale action figures of generic military guys. These work as your 60th anniversary tentpole figures, but they also work as army builders. I think they're going to have appeal outside of GI Joe to anybody who's just a general military enthusiast, and there's a lot of reuse with them, but they each have a couple of new parts that still make them very interesting to me.
And see, that's the thing though with these figures is it's a lot more than that because it's not just them calling back to the original 12-inch line because that was a lot of like true to life military stuff. They've actually done this kind of thing in almost every single toy line they've ever. Sigma 6 had a Land, Sea, and Air like special edition thing in like Wave 3 or something like that, to where you had a Marine, you had Army, you had Navy, and like that's what this is more representing is like without putting those brands directly on it, like that's 100% like a Marine or like an Army, like Ranger or something like that, with the options to take off or and put on whatever you need for like a desert unit or like an overall like water unit and stuff like that. We've seen this happen, but it's just been so long, and it's nice to see that they're because they were kind of afraid to like be that direct with some of the military stuff and some of the gun stuff for such a long time. But I think
And
we even saw it in
it really does speak to the success for the line because friend of the channel Geek with Chris was telling me because he's actually met with various Hasbro teams personally before that like Lenny explained to him one time at a Comic-Con that when they originally pitched the line, the reason they had to do like some of the weird sci-fi Fortnite-y looking stuff in the first couple waves was because some Hasbro investors and marketing people were very touchy about the idea of doing a military line in the modern world. They were like, all right, you can do it, but they can't have real guns. And then as soon as those initial sales numbers for the first two waves came in, all those people immediately went, all right, do whatever you want. You have good ideas. Just do it. Just do it. It's working. And so this
and
speaks to the success.
and it again like they said that the individual pouches and stuff like that on the body rig there can come off and be like moved around and stuff like that. It's a cloth goods duster that
Yeah,
it
like I
comes with.
want to know what that freaking duster actually looks like in physical.
And then we got a 50 cal. I really hope that the bandolier they show in the render is for one of their machine guns, which it
Mm-hmm.
looks like it might not be because that doesn't really look like a 50 cal bullet compared to the 50 cal that they have depicted there. But
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure
like
it'll look right whenever
50
they get
cal
it.
happening. How much you want to bet we've got retro-carded roadblock coming down the pipeline?
Oh, that's exactly what it'd need to come with. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess I wouldn't really need that though because I could just hand that to Roadblock and that'd be done with it because I have the
Yeah.
30th
Yeah, I'm
or
happy
the
with the heavy artillery boy.
yeah the one that they did for Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think both of these are just amazing. Buy like as many of them as you can. Situation like they changed up the diver's gun as well. Actually, it comes with more realistic diving or like navy weapons because that's an MP5 versus like the weird little gun. That might be the same one. I can't tell. Different pistol, I think. But just to think of this and to see that like we're gonna have this sprinkled in. This is just exactly like how it used to be when I was a kid, and I've not seen stuff like this in so long to where like they'd embrace this. The other
Mm-hmm.
crazy thing though is going back to that comment where somebody was like, "Yeah, why would I need Super 7 when I have this?" Yeah, I mean, people have been saying it too. Valverse is gonna be pissed, dude, because they just
Yeah,
with a
because their
single
whole market has
announcement.
been the older people who are really wanting GI Joe to be more hard, realistic military.
Yeah. And like with these two figures alone, like I already know that Valverse had figures that look like this up for pre-order. And like you can't do anything about it, but like now it's just going to come down to uh quality, who's
Mm-hmm.
going to have the better quality. And it's going to be the company with the more money, because it's going to be
Yeah.
hard for
And that being
Valverse
said,
to match this.
Valverse does still have some, like, we've never talked about them on this podcast, I think, but Valverse, I've heard decent stuff about the figures in hand. I've never bought one myself, but I do like some of the designs that are more unique with them. Like, all their female characters are pretty unique looking, and I've been tempted to get them a couple times. The Swarm figures are really good in terms of just like
Yeah.
a trooper design, but yeah, these beat out some of their more just like general military guy figures.
Uh, and if anything in price too, but
Hmm.
stuff that it comes with, like just picking up two of these, you have shit to just do whatever you want with.
It's really great, but that was all the renders they showed for GI Joe. Then we got some in-hand looks at figures that were going out for pre-order that day, and we've already talked about Ripper a bit. But one other thing I did want to say about him is I liked that they made the actual Jaws of Life weapon he has articulated, because I remember that was like my one little quibble with the classified bat was the claw, and that wasn't articulated. So it's nice that they got that here.
Yeah, and even on the 30th figure, it still had the same little feature, so I think they'd be in trouble without it.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I mean, yeah, like just the general look. He's got like again like heavy detail where you need it. Man, I just love seeing what this team can produce. because they're pretty much hitting it out of the park every time now.
Speaking of hitting it out of the park, General Hawk looks just sensational. I mean, oh, I cannot wait to get this guy in hand. Not the least of which because he's the only member of the G.I. Joe command structure that hasn't had a classified figure yet, but also just because he looks like a wonderful, like slightly more realistic version of the version 2 figure that became his cartoon look.
Yeah, and that China Lake inspired like racking grenade launcher he comes with just looks badass.
Mm-hmm. And the bomber jacket looks spot on. The face sculpt is just really, really crisp and cool looking. And then
The double pistols is a nice touch.
yeah. Oh man. And then you got Helix, who I didn't realize until I saw the physical version of her. She's clearly just straight reusing version 1 Scarlet's entire lower body, but the upper body seems to be a mostly new sculpt, and the face sculpt looks really nice in person, and I love that her mantis blades are actually articulated.
See, but this is again the kind of wave or the kind of line where like when it comes to Marvel Legends, it's a little bit different when we see reuse like that for like boots and stuff because so often do those characters just have such particular designs. But with this stuff, it's military, so like all it is a pair of pants, like, and they put it in a different color or a slightly different thing. Like, yeah, that's all you would need. The more slight different variations we get down the line, the more like massive catalog they have to do whatever version of whatever. Because when we get to the point to where they're planning on like, hey, we get the Snake Eyes body, Hey, great, now that could be a Cobra Trooper in the Arctic, a Desert Special Edition, whatever. Splash some '90s colors on it. Do whatever you want. Like,
Yeah.
the more money it saves them, I think, like the more fun we get to have. I think.
Mm-hmm. And that's especially evident when you look at the next physical figure they showed, Shockwave, who is almost entirely reuse. I think the only new parts on him are his hat and his riot shield, but it all flows together so well that even though I was kind of lukewarm at him when we saw him at SDCC as a render, I think the physical figure looks really solid, and he's not one I'm going to seek out, but like if I see him in person, I'll definitely pick him up.
Yeah, and the next one would be Buzzer, I reckon.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could say is like I wish he had the flame effect on his chainsaw that the 30th figure did, but the fact that he comes with these extra like flail, axe, and like saw bat weapons with like these other little bit, like again, it's just kind of like a win for me. I've been waiting to get like the full squad of these guys for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's great to see him.
Yeah, he looks really solid. I'm not the biggest Dreadnoks guy, but I love how unique he looks. Like I think his entire upper torso is new. The I'm sure they're reused, but I don't recognize any bit of his legs in particular. And it's a head sculpt that you don't normally see in GI Joe. And of course, the weapons are really really unique. So, very very interested in him. And then after that, they just gave us a recap of the Crimson Strike team exclusive and the selfie series, which about my only like overall criticism with this year's Pulse Con, that's not like a minor quibble, is just like, guys, stop trying to make selfie series happen. It really feels shoved down our throat at events like this.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that it seems like they really are pushing the envelope with like what you can select, but it's just like I know the price went up and it's like great to see, but like man, like unless I start seeing reports that the quality's really there now and they give us like a few more, like if you gave me like a grunt with my head on it, or just give me the option to buy the head, and it works on like certain things like that. Like I don't want to be a Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
I don't look like Snake Eyes,
Like
like
they're doing it the way it's built. It's for like casual people who are interested in like cosplaying their favorite character. But I feel like the way it should be marketed is for hardcore fans who want to put themselves onto their shelf or into figure photography.
yeah.
Um,
I just
but
realized Big Boa has bloody knuckles in his alternate hand.
yeah, he can bare knuckle box too. That's a cool touch. trying to think. Oh, have you seen the boxes for GI Joe?
The closed boxes?
Yeah, for this round of Joes.
No, I haven't seen those pictures anywhere.
There's actually a bunch of Easter eggs on them. I'll send you a couple real quick in the chat. So, Ripper,
Oh wow.
he's in like a garage, like a little shop, and you can see the drum kit from Cold Sliver is in the background, as well as like there's some orange sodas on the floor. General Hawk, there's a ton of Easter eggs. First off, he's in front of the Cartoon HQ. There's a stun and a triple T in the background under his legs, and above his shoulder is the 1991 General Hawk figure, which is like a ridiculous figure that comes with like an armor suit and a jetpack.
I mean, do you think we're getting it?
I I would love to see them go that crazy, but I'm not 100% sure.
You think? I mean, the stun and the triple T have to be like hinting at something.
Oh yeah, they could very well do those at that new price point that like the Vamp is coming at.
I will say I love the detail you could see on Ripper's box art. Man, he looks amazing.
Yeah.
100% like facial structure of BMAC though. He's got like the same hairstyle. Too like BMAC, I guess, just looks like Ripper apparently.
Maybe.
But he's also got razor blade, which is it scares the shit out of me to think about. But like razor blades on his necklace for no reason. Man, that's a great looking figure. That's just a lot of fun.
But yeah, I think that is all the classified and legacy news out of Pulse Con. I know some people were a little upset there was no Transformers Studio Series news, but BMAC clarified on Instagram this morning they're saving that for the Hasbro 1027 live stream next month, which I'm not surprised by at all. I'm actually surprised that we saw as much as we did, because I was going into this thinking like, well, yeah, the PulseCon always happens around this time of the year, but like New York Toy Fair's in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that you got NYCC, and then the week after that is 1027. They got to really stretch some stuff out. But I guess not. I guess they just got plenty to show us, so we'll see in due time.
Yeah, I mean they did reveal the Junkion Cycle third iteration.
Was that a reveal or a leak? I didn't have time to check.
I don't know.
Well, I think that's all we have to say about PulseCon, and I don't think there was anything else too eventful that's been happening in the news since then. So do you want to just go ahead and get into this month's comic?
Sure, let's dig on in.
All right, we have G.I. Joe, a real American hero from the Marvel Comics Group in October of 1982. This is Operation Wingfeld, written by Larry Hama, with pencils by Herb Trimpe, inks by Jack Espinito, I think is how you pronounce that, and Jack Abel. Letters by Diana Abels. Colors by George Rossocio, and editing by Tom DeFalco. This was a very different feeling issue, but I didn't mind it too much because it's essentially like, what would G.I. Joe be doing if Cobra didn't exist? You know, in a week where Cobra's not up to some stuff, what do you do to keep the G.I. Joe group busy? Oh, you go take out some fucking MAGA compound weirdos.
I don't know about MAGA, but it was definitely like some terrorist style, like malicious shit for the 80s.
Yeah.
I did think it was pretty funny to see Duke be like, "Whoa, this ain't no whatever the hell like armory. This is state of the art stuff. Like that T60 is state of the art." I'm like, yeah, it sure was in like 1984, but like,
well, it's funny because it's not even Duke, right? He hasn't been introduced in the comics yet. It's still young General Hawk when he's Colonel Hawk.
Is?
Yeah,
that's funny.
So it is just a very different story that I don't think anyone really talks about anymore, because it's essentially kind of a filler arc when they're waiting for more bad guy toys to be introduced, or not even an arc, just a filler issue. But it's still fairly entertaining because it's just interesting to see how they deal with this thing and how out of hand it almost gets, with this one guy being like, yeah, I stole a bunch of nuclear warheads and I'm going to start World War III and we're going to go hide in a bunker, except if that doesn't work, I'm just going to blow us up to kick off World War III anyway. Like, what?
Yeah. And I mean, that's definitely some like interesting. It reminded me of Secret Wars a little bit because like that's a type of like crazy espionage shit to see. But it was definitely silly, definitely weird.
Hmm.
I
I do like the slightly realistic thing in the end though, like where his wife just shoots him. She's just like, nah, this is too much. We're done.
yeah.
And there's some fun banter between Hawk and some of the other Joes as they're trying to infiltrate this place. But overall, there's not a whole lot of meat on the bone story wise. It's just kind of a quick done in one adventure. With some okay to weird art, like that one panel you put in the chat. That is this is not your best work, Herb Trimpe.
It's definitely it is something. Definitely
Well,
memes, easy memes.
yeah, I'm surprised these comics haven't been mined for memes more by like the Tumblr generation or something like that. But I don't know. Overall, it was solid. I'm a little disappointed that we haven't had much to dig into with the comics lately. But I got the feeling it's just a few more months down the line before stuff starts really kicking off. This one's not bad though.
Not at all. No.
Love the joke at the end of the hillbillies being like, "Oh no, they're turning that friggin' compound into a military base. They're gonna steal our women."
Oh yeah, that is funny. It reminds me a little bit of Far Cry 4 or whatever, because that one was strangely set in Montana and dealt
Hmm.
around a cult that was like, essentially like gun is their savior.
You
Uh,
know, I
so
haven't played much Far Cry, but I will take your word for that.
it's just funny. It was just a funny comparison because that's kind of exactly what it is. It's like a militia in Montana that sets a nuke off and like ends up fucking up half of the country. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all there is to say about this month's comics. So let's get into some recent pickups. Cody, what have you been messing around with in the last few weeks?
A lot, I
Hmm.
guess. I picked up. Um, I haven't opened them yet, but I got the Flapjack or Man Cake Fortnite figure from Ollie's. Got a bunch of Hero Clicks from Ollie's because they're just like really easy to buy. Those creepy freaks are essentially Hero Clicks knockoffs with unique designs.
Hmm.
Um, and those I got from Ollie's. Those are from the year 2000. I remember there's only 46 designs, and some of them are like repaints. They are hand painted little figurines though, and it's interesting to see something that I've never seen in person, but would always see that one single commercial they made, and just like literally 23 years later, like, oh yeah, I'll buy that for a fucking dollar on the shelf. It's like four in a or two in a box, like a dollar. It's $1. What else is a dollar in this modern age? Anyways, so those have been neat. Those are kind of just like little been like buy the time something to like grab and open situations. But then I got lucky and my Target had one of the crazy sales. So I got scrap iron and the drone for like 20 something dollars.
Ooh,
Then
how
I
you
got,
liking him?
oh, I love them. The effect parts are amazing. I immediately put one for Bazooka. Bazooka's rocket actually fits on the end of that effect part as well.
Yeah.
Um, the figure, the drone's a lot more like posable than I thought it was gonna be. So that's fun. I just like the thing in general. It's nice to see. I think Scrap Iron himself is a really cool character, and I like his unique little pistol and helmet. Um, and then I also got Shipwreck, who is one of my like favorite cartoon characters, anyways. That figure is just great. I love the fact that he has like the different hairpiece, the jeans, which is funny because a lot of people don't know that like that was a very common thing for the Navy is just like regular denim jeans um, for their uniform. Um, but yeah, I got that, and then I got the Thor and Destroyer 2 pack, Black Widow, and I got the Hawkeye with his flying vehicle. And then today I picked up not Bombshell, the Insecticon Scrap whatever, Scrapnel, and Armada Megatron.
Ooh,
So
how are you liking those two?
those figures are great. I already knew they were going to be great. So I honestly only got them because I got a little bit more money than I was expecting, and I was feeling pretty hyped from PulseCon, and I was like, you know what, let me go buy something because, like, again, like I all of this stuff that I've been naming off, I pretty much got for like deep discount somehow. So I don't know, you know. Oh yeah, I also got Coronation Starscream for like
Yeah,
$10.
that figure, I got that figure for I want to say 2025 a while back, and what a great Voyager with a bunch of extra crap.
Yeah. I mean, here was the interesting thing. Mine was like yellowed.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's like a bit of like the animation thing, but it's like evenly so. The entire character, the gray is like this tan gray more than anything, which I mean, it doesn't bother me because you can kind of put a shit on the other Starscream that they released for the Voyager price point. I honestly really got it for the fucking crown, cape, accessory, and the chair.
Yeah.
So
The
just
only
chair
like
for
the
robots.
only like real edge that thing has over the Earthrise Voyager in terms of the actual like main figure is they gave him
Hands.
finger articulation.
Yeah. Which you could, I mean, if you really want to, you could just swap that. Just
Yeah.
swap it out.
Swap it out.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I don't think I've missed anything else.
All right.
Because I wasn't actually getting anything new for a little while. Uh, that Thorn Destroyer, that Black Widow comes with 3 heads, by the way. I didn't
Yeah.
even know it. They're all phenomenal things. Every single one of those things that I opened were just, I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, Marvel Legends is going in the right direction, and so is everything else, I think.
Well, that's good. I I have not been picking up a whole ton of Transformers and GI Joe this month, mainly due to just like money not being where I need it to be. Um, I have gotten a couple things from Ollie's, like I picked up the Snake Eyes movie classified Akiko, and she is fine. She is a perfectly serviceable figure that I think works way better as the female Blue Ninja. Um, and then I picked up just today, actually, or yesterday, I mean, because I got a little bit of extra money on Friday. I went to Ollie's to grab some food for the week and see if they had any of the stuff that's been showing up there. And they did have the Beast Wars Ultra Optimus Primal reissue, so I grabbed that, and I it really sucks to say this because like I'm not. We've talked before. I'm not a big Beast Wars guy, but there's certain toys from that era that it's like, oh, I think that would be a fun toy to experience regardless of context. And the original Ultra Optimus Primal is one of those ones I've always wanted to track down and mess with. And I still hold that opinion because this is a terrible reissue. Um, there's missing paint apps in several places. Some of the paint apps that are here are either wrong or splotchy. The
Mm.
build quality doesn't feel very good. The molding on the missiles is actually wrong somehow. It's too big to fit into his hand cannon, and I can fit them into his shoulder cannons. But when I go to pull the missiles out, like they won't click in to actually fire out. There's something wrong with the mechanism, and when I go to pull them out, they take the red caps on the ends with them. It is just a very wibbly feeling version of what should be a great toy. And honestly, I'm really glad I did not pay full price for the reissue. Still going to try and track down an original at some point, but not an optimal first experience with this Optimus.
Not optimal at all.
Yeah. Um, and then one other Transformers related thing I did get this month was I was hanging out at my local vintage toy store and somebody had sold like a chunk of their collection to them and they were kind of going through it. And they had a bunch of Transformers Universe stuff, like Universe I want to say '08 was when that line happened, the one that was like the precursors to Generations. Um and that's still within what I would call my childhood era of Transformers. So I was like, oh, okay, let me have a look at these. And it was all packaged stuff. So I was more so just admiring the packaging because there was so much effort put into packaging back then that there just isn't now. And like I get it. It's a lot cheaper and a lot easier to have the packaging be a lot more generic and multilingual. But man, I miss there being like freaking branding everywhere, Decepticon symbols molded into the actual bubble, and like these long ass bios and tech specs. There's just something about all that that made the whole experience of the toy feel so much more engaging. Um, and so I was kind of admiring that, and I ended up feeling nostalgic enough in the moment that I ended up rebuying what was my first experience with the classic secret mold, and is now my only example of the classic secret mold in my current collection. Universe Acid Storm. Um,
Oh,
and
that's a good one though. That figure's amazing.
yeah, and it was weird because it's like, they produce the crap out of this figure. There's no like inherent value in keeping it in package, but I liked the packaging so much. I like having that all those graphics up on my wall so much. I've currently got it hanging above the shelf that I have all my Micro Galaxy Squadron stuff on. That I went on eBay and paid the same price for the that I had paid for the packaged one to get a loose one. So I've now got two of those things. And yeah, the classic Seeker mold is still really good, huh?
Yeah,
Like
most
people
certainly.
there was a time where people were making fun of it, saying like, "Oh, they've repainted this thing so much. I'm surprised it doesn't just come apart out of the box. They've got to make a new one of these to bring it up to modern standards already." Yeah, no, the classics mold is still really really solid. It still fits in really well. It's maybe a little small compared to some new toys, but I still like it a whole lot, and I've had a whole lot of fun just transforming it back and forth on my desk. It takes me back to like I didn't even realize it until I was holding that packaged one in the vintage store, but like it gives me a very clear and vivid memory of when I bought it originally at like I want to say 11, 12 years old in a Florida Target with my mom.
Yeah, and that's what some of these other figures I got, like that Thor. That Thor really did it for me, um, because I used to always want that Toy Biz Thor, and we never could get it, and it kind of just really scratched that exact itch.
That's awesome, man. That's really the best kind of collecting is when you get something that brings you back to your childhood or gives you an experience you've never had from toy collecting and always wanted. Like another thing is I bought it months ago, but I just got around to opening my Mezco 112 collective Superman this month, and it's just that figure blows me away for how much stuff it comes with and how friggin' solid it feels, even though it's an articulated body with a cloth costume on top. I was not expecting it to be as sensational of a toy as it is.
Yeah.
But that is all for this month. Definitely much more about the news this month than anything else. But you're always going to have that when you got a big event like PulseCon popping off, and we'll probably talk a little bit about some stuff out of Toy Fair next month. If Hasbro goes, I've heard rumblings that some of the bigger companies aren't going, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hasbro is one of them because of how much they showed at PulseCon. But we'll see. And for now, that's pretty much all there is to cover from the world of GI Joe and Transformers this month. So, Snowcone, why don't you tell the people where they can find you out there on the internet?
Hello there. My name is Snow Cone 8 and 3, and you can find me at never underscore robot on instant gramification and searching some Snow Cone 83 on some gaming platforms and stuff like that if you want. Outside of that, that's about it.
All right. I'm the Vacuuminator. I make YouTube videos. They're things I try to be pretty proud of most of the time. You can find them right here on YouTube at the Vacuuminator. I also have a TikTok where I post clips of my older videos, though not this last week because I was too busy to make clips this week on the day when I normally do it. But when I get back to that, you're going to be able to find it on TikTok at the _ vacuuminator. I also post daily action figure photography to Instagram under that same username. And I am on Bluesky, kind of aggregating my content and giving random thoughts on things. That's thevacuuminator.bsky.social. And I'm on Tumblr, thevacuuminator.tumblr.com. But folks, that's going to do it for this month's installment of Saturday Morning Panels. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for hanging out with us, talking all things Transformers and G.I. Joe. We'll see you back here next month. But until then, don't forget, knowing is half the battle till all are won. Or something like that. I forgot to say them last month, so I'm out of practice because we also took too long to do the show this month. Oh God, I swear I'm good at podcasts. Just go. Just leave me here. Just get out of here. Ah!